Now we study another method of modeling. Delete this item. We can work directly on the surface of the pillow, where we put the modifier Mesh Smooth. We eliminate the modifier Mesh Smooth, and we make a copy of the pillow. I isolate it. We use the tools Clone, Copy. We change the color of the object. We use it as a matrix, then hide the original. We can use the Swift loop. We put it in this position and insert a series of edge. There will be polygons that are not needed, then I delete it. For example, we eliminate this. We can also eliminate these. We made a ring. Exit isolation mode. We use the command unhide by name. We make visible the original pillow. Here we find our object. Select all the polygons. With the keyboard shortcuts, Ctrl+A, and we make an extrusion. At the beginning it is very highest extrusion. Set the local normal, and insert 0. Now we see the coefficient for the extrusion. It would be the thickness of the belt. We can do it once, or even several times. If I want the thickness on the segments, we try to insert 3 extrusions. Now we need to split this item to create the strap, which stay on the chair. So we do a selection for some polygons. For example, these polygons. We do it in this position, and we eliminate it. Now we have created a hole. We need to close the underside of the belt, before making another extrusion. We need to select the entire profile and then close it. We can use the command bridge, and even eliminate the polygons that are these. Delete. Now we can use the edge to create the belt. If you move with the Shift key pressed, he creates another set of polygons. The only imperfection of this process, it is the inclination of the edge, which is not always consistent with our purpose, but after we can rotate it. This procedure is very easy to use. Now we begin to implement other parts of the belt. We move it, and always use the Shift key during the movement to realize the full shape of the belt. At this point we must make a rotation. It is better to move in this way. When we make the rotation, we must use the correct axis for not to deform the disposition of the polygons. We can also use the scale to align the polygons. The scale is an alternative to the command of align, which we used in other lessons. With a scale you need to work on one axis, to align the polygons. Now we can move it, to bring in position. We move it down. Now we check the object in the perspective viewport. Now in the object is still present a hole. Because this polygon is not close, we can press the Shift key and do other extrusion downward. For example, to create the final part, we make a scale on the outside for this polygons, and after we move it, if you like this result, we can conclude and close the open polygons. We can use the cap command. This is a solution to create the belt. We must also close the object in the initial part. So even on this edge, we use the command cup. Now we insert the details. We use the ring command. We made the selection on the top part, and not in the lower part. It might be useful if you want to work only on a part. For example, if I want to do only extrusions on the upper part. Also here we make a connection. The connect command is available in many parts in the interface of 3D Studio Max. We use it from the quad menu. We insert two segments. We can also enlarge them. Then we make another loop selection. With a selection we can use the chamfer. We make one in this position. We select the other edge, and then we can repeat the command. Now we can make the extrusion we have already studied in the previous lesson. We select two polygons and make the loop. We can activate the NURBS to see how is the final result. The NURBS work as the mesh smooth. And we create an extrusion with extrude setting. We don't exaggerate with the extrusion, and we work on the local normal. We can work outside or inside. You check that the extrusion not penetrate the object underside. Now we can disable the NURBS. Now we select the final part of the polygons that we want change. We must create small extrusions. We do it on outside and work on the normal. We must do the same process in the final part of the object. Select all the polygons and do the interactive extrusions. Also on this object we use the modifier Mesh Smooth. We can set with 1 or 2 iterations. It depends on the detail that we want to obtain. Now I realized only on one side the re-entry. After you need make to the other side. Or we can use the symmetry modifier. We can turn this object to create a copy. But first you need to reset the position for the pivot. Use the option center to object. Now we are sure that its pivot is at the center of the object. And we can make a copy. Use the Move tool, together with Shift key, and we set an instance. Or we can use the tool's mirror. We need to set the pivot with the local axis. So we are sure to turn the object in relation to the center of 3D Studio Max. Activate the mirror and choose the correct axis. Do some test to find the right setting. We confirm to create the object. With the instance it's very convenient to work, because each change is reflected to the other object. For example, you can select the vertex to stretch the belt. We select them and move down. Or move them to the inside. Choose the method that you like. At the end, we always activate the modifier Mesh Smooth. Now the belt is already soft. If you prefer, you can increase it to 2.